Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this webinar today at the eMarketeer Academy. Today we are here with Stefan from BRV Agency and Migaloo, and I am super excited to introduce you to Stefan and all the stuff that he's going to cover today. Today, obviously, we're going to talk about how to win at content marketing and get 5 epic tips. Welcome to the webinar, Stefan.
Thank you very much, Klaus.
Thrilled to have you here, and I'll give you a chance to introduce yourself to the audience and a little bit about your background and BRV and Migaloo for sure, so that people know that we are talking to an actual black belt here. Today, I'm just going to be the host and moderator here. My name is Klaus. I'm the product evangelist and head of partner alliances at eMarketeer. So I'll be taking you through the introduction here and drill Stefan with some of your questions after the webinar. So I'll be moderating the session today. We're going to be 45 to 60 minutes on the webinar today, depending on how many questions you have. Please do go ahead and ask your questions in the questions box on your right-hand side of the screen in the GoToWebinar control panel. You can type in your questions. I will pick out the questions and serve them to Stefan after the presentation in the Q&A session to get a good dialogue on the stuff that's on your mind. So please do go ahead and submit your questions there during the webinar. We'll record the session. You'll get the slides afterwards as well. So you don't have to worry too much about note taking. Just send us your thoughts on the questions in the questions box, and we'll look forward to do some dialogue and Q&A on those. The objectives today are really to get an understanding of the key concepts of content marketing and obviously get some hands-on tips that you can apply to the content marketing you're doing today. Because even though you may not be thinking you're doing content marketing, surely you are in some way, shape, or form. So there's absolutely going to be some good takeaways for you today. Just a few words about eMarketeer for those of you who don't know us. We are a marketing automation platform. We're based in Sweden. We launched in the cloud in 2002, so we've been around the block for a while now. We serve more than 1,500 clients in the business to business and the business to consumer sectors, ranging from small entrepreneurs to large multinational enterprises. So we kind of cover a lot of bases with our platform. eMarketeer platform is basically a marketing toolbox where you have a lot of different components you can use for your newsletters, drip campaigns, one-to-one email campaigns, surveys, web forms, events management, landing pages, mobile apps, automations, and much, much more. So just in a nutshell, a platform where you can perform a lot of your marketing projects in one simple tool. So that's all I wanted to say about us. If you're curious, please do reach out, obviously, and check out eMarketeer.com. But without further ado, I will hand it over to Stefan to introduce yourself and take us through today's topic, which I'm sure is on a lot of people's minds in these special times as well, where we are kept from meeting face to face and going to conferences and trade shows and events and whatnot. We are really focusing in on the content that we deliver in the digital channels we have available and how to really make the best use of our time there. So without further ado, I will hand over the presenter's rights and screen to you, Stefan, to take it away for us. So just a second here. Make presenter, and you should be ready to roll with your slides there.
Great. Thank you very much, Klaus. Hope everybody can see my screen. And hope everybody is feeling good, healthy, and safe in these times. So just some quick information about myself. So Klaus told me, just like Klaus told you, I'm a CEO and digital strategist at an agency called BRV Agency, and it's a company based in Gothenburg, Sweden. We focus on 2 different business areas, one which is more focused on user experience and design, and we collect that on brave.se. And then we have what we're going to discuss today, business unit that is more focused on content marketing, and we have named that migaloo.se. So in case you're interested in finding out more of what we do, or reading the blog, or just subscribing to the newsletter, you can visit those websites afterwards. So let's start a little bit. Yeah, I can also say a little bit about my background. I've been working with the internet since mid-90s, and started out more on the technical side as a systems developer, and then moved forward more towards project management and strategy, and that's basically what I'm focusing on right now. So, but first, just to get some input on what who's actually watching the webinar, we thought about having just a short poll actually. So I guess you will start that, Klaus.
Absolutely. I hope that you guys are up for answering the quick poll here. It will give Stefan some context about who's on the webinar today. And I'm going to launch the poll that has to do with how much experience do you have in content marketing. You should be seeing it on your screen now, and you can choose the different options here. Maybe it's you're just here because your boss told you that it would be good for you, or you heard about content marketing, but you're still a beginner. You're kind of experienced, but you can always learn more, or you work with it regularly, or you're an epic ninja at content marketing. So let us know by voting in the polls, and I will share the results so you can also understand who else is on the webinar today. So just half of you voted. You're really on the mark here, helping us get some insights into the audience today. That is great. All right, just a few more. We're racing past the 70% that have voted. Thank you so much. I'm going to close the polls and share the results. And if you feel like it, Stefan, you can put a few comments to the results that you're seeing on the screen.
Yeah, we have a few ninjas in the webinar, which is good. It puts a lot of pressure on me, so that's fine. And we also have some people that actually like to know more about content marketing. So I'll probably start a little bit slower or easier in the level of expertise, and then move from there, I guess. But good to know that there are a lot of people actually that are working with content marketing.
Yeah, cool. Thanks for sharing, guys. I'm going to hide the results and let you continue, Stefan.
Thanks. All right. So what is content marketing? Well, there's a lot of different explanations on this, but basically, as we see, the content marketing is to provide relevant content or valuable content that really attracts your target group's attention, depending on which channel it is and so on. And content is basically a part of everything that you do. So if it's in social media, you'll use content to try to engage or create attention, build brand awareness, and so on. And then you need, of course, content. In SEO, you need a lot of content because everything is indexed on different search engines. In PPC, you also need great content to back it up, so you can drive traffic from ads, etc. And then, of course, content marketing is very important in inbound marketing to really drive traffic and generate leads on your website. So where do we start? Well, basically, when we start working with clients, we start by understanding the target audience, because this is key in order for us to success in marketing. So we start by creating buyer personas. We understand how these buyer personas takes through the buyer journey, and we normally create a content map on this. And then we try to identify existing assets that's available in the organization, and then we start getting creative. So instead of just starting with doing like content articles and that kind of stuff from scratch, we do a good strategy behind it. So going into these a little bit more in detail. So creating buyer personas. And for those who don't know, a buyer persona is a semi-fictional description of your ideal audience. So it's based on research and real data about your customers. And this could be data that you gather from sales personnel. It could be gathered from surveys or other kind of stuff. But it's good to have as much real data as possible, so these personas actually are as precise as they can be. Yeah, what you do is that actually you start giving a persona a fictional name. You can come up with anything, could be Sales Steve or something like that. Then you put them into some kind of demographic. You put an age on them, your gender, family, income, what kind of house they have, and make them a bit more personalized. Then you start identifying their professional role. So like identifying what kind of job title they have. For example, Sales Steve could be sales manager or sales director or something like that. You identify what kind of company they are working on, industry, size, etc. Then you need to identify also the challenges that they are facing in their everyday work. So it could be what kind of goals do they have with their position. Could be that they need to provide data for their boss or whatever. So who do they report to, basically? When we know that, it's good to know where they are basically hanging out. What channels do they use? Blogs, events, trade fairs. What kind of digital channels like LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, or whatever target group you have. And then you also need to understand how they educate themselves. How do they learn more about their position and their job requirements? So it could be different kind of blogs that they are normally visiting. Could be if they are taking some specific e-learning or reading some magazines and that kind of information. And all these things are packed together in a persona card. After that, you need to understand your target audience buyer journey, and this is basically the journey is a process your personas go through to become aware or evaluate or purchase your product or service. So basically, it's the purchase funnel that you need to identify, and you do this by following these steps. So there are actually 3 stages that the buyer journey is divided into. It's the awareness phase, the consideration phase or stage, and it's the decision stage. And in the awareness stage, this is where the buyer or the persona actually identifies what kind of challenges they have. They know they have a problem, but they are not really sure of what kind of problem it is and how they should solve it and so on. So they normally Google for this issue. And a lot of research around a specific problem is done through Google today. Fun fact is actually that about 70% of B2B researchers starts by doing a generic search on Google, actually. So that's the awareness stage. Then you have the consideration phase. And this is basically where your target group or your persona has identified a solution for their challenge. So whatever problem they had, they now know that, okay, this is my specific problem. I know what the challenge, and I'm now looking around for best options to solve this. Then you come to the decision phase. And this is where the buyer or actually are ready to make a purchase. They have identified vendors and are now looking more into content that makes the decision to actually buy a product or a service. So this could be a good example where you might want to show testimonials or prices or that kind of information around your product. So these are the stages in the buyer journey. Then after you have the persona and the buyer journey, you start creating a content map. And a content map is planned to deliver the right content to the right people at the right time. So it's important to put the content in context. And this is actually where the buyer personas and the buyer journey comes in. So to give you some input about the content mapping. So in the awareness phase, your persona is basically seeking to find information, as I mentioned, around a specific problem or issue. And it's normal vendor natural content. So that because they don't know exactly who can solve their problem. So they are trying to identify solutions. In the consideration phase, they have already identified the problem and they are looking for specific solutions. So they are actually exploring this across many different industries, which could be interesting to know, because even though you think about your specific competitor, you might have similar products that can solve a buyer persona's problem. And then you have the decision phase, and this is where they have actually chosen a solution, and they are making a short list of vendors. So they are actually looking for specific vendors that can solve their problem. So that's the persona part of it. Then when we come to the next part of the content mapping, we look at different kind of content that could be applicable for the different phases. So if we take, for example, the awareness phase, we have different kind of reports, different ebooks, guides, editorial and expert content, white papers, and that kind of stuff that could help them understand what kind of solutions there are for their issue or problem. And then we have the consideration phase. This is where we actually have some comparison. We have white papers about different solutions. We have expert guides, could be webinars and podcasts, videos, for example. In the decision phase, this is where they have chosen, of course, different kind of vendors or putting down the vendor list. So we might have vendor comparison, product comparison. Why is our product much better than this product, and so on. We have case studies to show that we have done things, similar things before, or solved different problems before. It might be a trial download if you have an app or some kind of software, or a live demo. Could be, for example, if you have a lease before you buy, that kind of stuff. So this is the type of content that you need to provide in each different step. Then we have relevant search terms, and these could be interesting to apply when you then look at the content that you're going to produce. So in the awareness phase, people tend to search for troubleshoot, issue, resolve, upgrade, improve, optimize, those kind of words that actually could help them find a solution of their problem. In the consideration phase, it's more like they need to find a provider, a solution, maybe a supplier or a tool or something more similar like this, in order to find someone that can help them do it. So it could be select this and this problem. In the decision phase, we have I've already explained that this is basically where they are ready to buy. So now they are looking for my product versus this product, or pros and cons using this and that, or benchmarks or reviews, tests. They even might search for different kind of product names or brand names because they have already identified specific vendors that can help them out. So these are the relevant search terms. Then you need to actually identify existing assets. So what you should do is a content audit. You perform a content audit and you identify what content you already have. Quite often we find out that companies that we work with actually have quite a lot of content which is unused. So we can kind of identify what type of content it is, and then we map that content into the different stages in the buyer journey. And we use by simple Excel sheets, or there could be different tools for this. An example of how it could look is basically where we have for each persona an Excel file or a file where we kind of identify the whole funnel from awareness to decision, and we put in what kind of actions do our persona or our target audience actually take in the different steps or stages of the journey. And then we try to identify keywords that they are searching for to do these kind of steps. We identify touch points where we actually we might get awareness in a trade fair or an event or conference, but they actually continue their way through the funnel in other kind of channels. So we try to identify those, and then we map actually the existing content that we find or is applicable for each different step. Then it's time to get creative. So we start by identifying what's missing and we try to fill out the gaps. So we know that we have a lot of content, but we are also lacking a lot of content. So this is where we try to identify what kind of content we need to create in order to have some content for each step in the buyer's journey. We try to target different topics, trending topics, identifying what's happening in the society or what people are searching for right now, so we can take that into consideration. And we are also looking into what competitors are doing, since these are probably the ones that we are competing about in an engine result page to actually come to a higher position. So have a look at those and identifying what articles they are writing in order to maybe write a better article, not the same article, but do it better, add more value to it. So then we need to plan and structure, set goals. So in order for it to become easy to work with content marketing, it's important that you actually plan your work months ahead. At least 1 month ahead is something that we try to tend to do. Otherwise, if you're very ad hoc, you're probably not gonna feel comfortable in creating could be social media posts or articles, because you don't have a good plan on it. And it's important to be consistent. If you start with content marketing, you do it in more of a long-term. You have long-term goals, so you need to keep up the pace and be consistent in what you're doing. And even though many things that content marketing is quite hard to do, or it takes a lot of time, you can actually see the results quite easily. Everything is measurable and so on. So if you put in the effort, you'll see return on investments. And then it's important also to set specific and clear goals. We use SMART goals as an example. It's basically specific and measurable goals that are time bound, so that you actually an example of a SMART goal could be I would like to increase my Facebook followers to 500 people within 3 months, or 500 followers. That means that it's specific and it's measurable, because you have a number of it, and it's also time bound, so you know how long time this would actually take to do. And it needs to be realistic as well. So maybe you have 300 now, 500 would be a good goal. And it's also important to clink your glasses of champagne when you reach them. So you actually need to celebrate a little bit often. A little bit about channels and adaptations. you should try to explore new channels all the time, especially new social media channels, and try to understand how they work. And then, if they work, then you try to add them to your strategy. It's important to actually just get a grip of new technology and new platforms all the time. Even though you might not be super active, you need to understand how they work and how people are using them. So, and people are changing, or the target group is normally changing quite a lot during the years. So if you take Facebook, for example, when it first came out, there was mostly students and younger people, and nowadays the younger people have moved to other platforms. Then it's also important to be channel specific. So you need to think about the user experience. If you have made a video that is in a landscape mode, it might not be suitable for a portrait mode on the mobile phone. People are using the mobile in portrait mode mostly, and but they might look at the video on YouTube in landscape mode. So you need to be able to adapt your content to give the best experience for the end user actually. And even though you might have different kind of channels, it might be that some of your personas are not seeing the content where it actually looks good. So in that case, you need to adapt and format the content accordingly to the platforms and channels. And then another tip is also to try to reuse. So one piece of content that you might have created can have multiple areas of use. I've written 20, but it could be like 50 or it could be 10, depending on what kind of content. But basically, as an example, if you create a blog article with 10 tips on how to do something specifically for that brings value to your persona, it could be 10 tips in content marketing, for example. That would be a long form article with good tips, but you can then divide those 10 tips into smaller pieces. And that means that you actually automatically get like 10 different social media posts that you can spread out during 5 weeks or whatever you have in your plan. You can also choose to do specific content from that article into a newsletter, or you can create a webinar and so on and so forth, and especially maybe a specific content offer. So you can get creative by reusing the same kind of content, and that gives you the opportunity to send out quite a lot of content from one specific piece of article, for example. So what should we choose, quality or quantity? This is the $1 million question. This is the question I quite often get when people are asking me about the plan and how often they should post. So I thought we do a small poll on this to see what you think. So Klaus.
Absolutely. Yeah, look forward to that $1 million. So I'm going to launch the poll, and here you just have to choose one. What do you think is best suited regarding content, quality or quantity? So fire away and let us know what you think. And I can sneak peek at the results here, and the verdict is quite clear. So maybe you can challenge that perception. We'll see, Stefan, about that. Okay, so a lot of votes are in, and the verdict is quite clear. I'm going to close and share and show you that 86% thinks quality must be best suited. What do you think?
Yeah, that's actually funny, because the statistics now in the poll is almost like the 14% of ninjas that we had in the beginning are choosing quantity. I don't think it is like that. No, actually, I would say there is no wrong or right answer in this one. As I see it, quality is subjective. So what you think is quality might not be quality for someone else. So I think actually it's important to provide a lot of content in order to be everywhere. There's a lot of channels that you should be active on. and that means that you need to actually provide a lot of content, like quantity content. But you also need to always have in mind that you need to provide value for your target audience. So it's not about just putting out anything just because quantity is important. You really need to make sure that you provide value. And of course, you need to follow brand guidelines and all these kind of things. So you can't put up anything. You need to have some kind of good plan and structure in how things are looking, and the templates and that kind of stuff. And your brand guidelines can allow different. So if you have a very open brand guideline, you might be able to get away with a lot of things. But as I mentioned, I mean, quality, if you look at the musical artists that are releasing an album with music, it might be that they have 25 different tracks that is ready to be released, and only 10 can make the album, so they need to select which ones. But it might be actually that there are better songs that they reject because it's subjective of what kind of tracks you like, and that comes that comes into content marketing as well. So a little bit about quantity and quality. So how to generate leads? Well, some tips on how to generate leads. And basically what I see as a business owner, it's always important that we are actually moving the customer in the funnel from awareness to the actual decision phase and so on. So doing this is actually ending up that we want to generate leads, or in an e-commerce we want to generate someone that actually puts the product in the shopping cart and click buy. But if we want to generate leads, it's always remember to have a clear call to action on your landing pages, or in your articles if you write a blog article or so that it's important that we actually try to give the user or the persona something to click on. Then it's also important to have specific and dedicated landing pages for your persona. So if we have now understood that we have different personas and they are in different phases or stages in the buyer's journey, it's also important that we don't drive traffic to just one landing page that should fit all. So these landing pages needs to be personalized and pinpointing the issue that they are searching for. Then you can create also gated content offers, and that basically what that is asking the visitor for their email address or additional information, but giving them something that is valuable. So it could be a white paper that they can download. Okay with giving away their personal information in order to get something. And then after you get the lead, you also need to nurture those leads using content automation tools like eMarketeer, for example. You can then send out personalized content automatically based on what you know about those people. So if they have downloaded a specific content offer, then you should then continue sending them valuable content that are similar to what they downloaded. Finally, we have a few epic tips, and this is me giving away just a few tips of how we're working and things that we think could come in handy when you are working with content marketing. So tip number 1 is actually use strong headings that drives clicks. This is a very good example of eMarketeer adding 5 epic tips to the banner that they invited for this webinar. That's something that is clickable, it's easy to see, and those kind of offers drive clicks. and it's good to use in social media, or you can use this kind of headings in Google Ads, search engine optimization, and like in titles and articles and so on. Kind of a clickbait, but still you need to give them some kind of value on the other side. So that's one of the tips that I can tell you. Then number 2, stop publishing content for the sake of it. So basically what I mean is always ask yourself what's its purpose and what stage in the buyer journey it would fit. We basically don't need more duplicated content on the internet. I just did a quick search the other day to find out, and we currently have 1.5 billion websites in the world. 182 are active, and number of pages on Google in March 2020 is about 5.5 billion pages. So if you think you're creating something new, you might think again. You should actually try to Google for it, try different keywords, and see if you can find similar content and make your own twist of it, so that you don't just copy paste it. Add some kind of additional value or something. Number 3, Google is one of the best and free topic tools there is, because there are so many searches starting on Google, especially in Europe, US, and Scandinavia and so on. So Google is the biggest search engine, and a good idea is to, if you have planned articles that you are going to produce, try to Google the topics and then see what kind of subtopics Google is trying to give you. So in this case, I just tried to Google how to build a summer house, and Google gave me additional content that I can write after this article. So it could be how to build a summer house step by step, or from a budget, or how to build it from pallets, or whatever it could be. So those could be additional articles that I might want to add to my content plan later on, because these are the keywords that people are searching for. I don't know if Bloxburg is on top of my mind. I think Bloxburg is a city in the game, what's it called, Block. Anyway, my kids are playing it all the time. Anyway, so this is good. Try to use Google as much as possible. You get this by typing in the query, but you also have a list at the bottom sometimes showing you similar keywords or similar pages that people are, or keywords that people are searching for. Number 4, Roblox is the game, actually. Sorry. Number 4. So content freshness. This is important as well. Try to give your old content some love. So that meaning is go into your old blog articles and add new data and republish them. Add new images, graphics, check if the titles are valid, maybe update some, improve them in any way or so. Because when you Google for an issue, it's quite often that you get an article that might be a couple of years old, but it's still solving the issue or solving the problem. So you might have quite a lot of good content already, and they are maybe lacking in performance because it might say content marketing trends 2018. Maybe you should update that page to give the user 2020 content marketing data or trends or whatever it could be. So look into your old content and give them some love. This also avoid a lot of bounces, because if they come into an article and they might see this content as a bit old, they bounce back, and then you get automatically lower SEO on that. Number 5, final tip. This is a list of useful apps that I use regularly, and it could be good to know if you're working with content marketing that there are so many different apps out there. Some of them are free, some of them are semi-free, which means that you can use them for a while, like a trial period or limited functions, and some of them are you need to buy some kind of license on them. So these are a couple of apps that I use regularly. Also, the public is basically where you can type in keywords to see what people are actually asking about in the search engines right now about a specific topic. Then you have Google Keyword Planner, perfect to understand what kind of keywords you need to identify for your buyer persona. We use Monday.com to plan our content schedule. It's basically an Excel file on steroids. So you can do different, you can crunch the data in different ways, but it's very easy to use. There's a lot of different tools regarding planning. It could be Trello, Basecamp, or those kind of things. Then we actually use Canva sometimes. It's good to quickly get started if you want to do something and you're not so familiar with creating visuals, for example, in Photoshop or Illustrator, that kind of tools. So Canva is an online tool where you can actually create small visual images, adding texts and so on to it. You can even choose a lot of different kind of fonts and templates. And it's also free, but you can then get a pro version to get additional content. Then there's a quite new tool called Grammarly, which helps you out with spelling, and it's not just like the spelling functionality in Word or Pages, but it gives you additional information on how you can structure your sentences and so on, and give you a suggestion on synonyms and different kind of things. Very, very handy when you're writing content. And then we use Unsplash quite a lot. So the photos that I used in this presentation was taken from Unsplash, and it's basically like Shutterstock or different kind of stock images websites, but this one is totally free, and it's really, really amazing photos that you can use in presentations, in blog posts or whatever. So check it out. So I think that was actually my 5 tips. So let's see if we have any questions.
Thank you very much, Stefan. Great content and good solid tips there. And we'll move into the Q&A session. So keep your questions coming in the Q&A box in the GoToWebinar control panel. I've gathered a couple to get us started, but do keep the questions coming, and I will do my best to fire these questions off to Stefan as we go along. So I'll just nick the screen back real quick here, show my screen, and you should all be seeing the Q&A session. So the first question, well, the good thing about having the mic is you kind of decide the first questions, I guess. So that's from me, because I think if you're just getting started, and I know we have a couple of ninjas here, but a lot of it is just getting into this. What is the key thing to focus on? I know you've got your 5 tips and all the different things about persona and planning, but what would you really say? If you're going to do one thing today, Stefan, what would that be?
That's a good question, and I would say that if you're going to do one thing, start slow with a specific channel. And identify what actually are your goals. So if your goal is to drive traffic to your website, for example, start by doing content that drives traffic. It could be small posts on social media like LinkedIn or Facebook or Instagram or whatever. Instagram is probably not the best one if you need to drive traffic because of the issue with links, but otherwise, try to drive traffic, for example, to your website, and then give them some content and engaging with the client there. And start slow. You take one channel at a time and identify and get insights on what you're doing. If you have something that works well, continue doing it. If it doesn't, scrap it and try another way, basically.
All right, so dream big, but start small, and don't be afraid to make mistakes, I guess is
absolutely
summing it up. Okay, cool. And then another question here is, what have you find surprises people the most when they start focusing on content marketing? Are there any things that kind of spring to mind here that surprises people, that either is incredibly challenging or way more successful than they thought initially?
Also good question. I would say that it's surprisingly how quickly, as soon as they have a plan and understand the concept of content marketing, normally they start to like actually creating content. And it could be people that actually doesn't normally write blog articles or so. It could be a technician or something. But as soon as they start doing this, they actually understand the meaning of it, and it gets fun for them. So in organizations where there might be limited resources in the marketing department, you can still get the information from technicians or engineers writing complex articles that you can maybe put some copywriter on top of it. But this is surprisingly good actually in many companies.
That's really good tip. So actually making this project bigger than just the marketing and the content team, but to include key stakeholders in the organization that are either close to the customers, like a customer support engineer or something like that, that has some true insights that wouldn't originate from the marketing team.
Exactly, yeah.
Cool. All right, so here's a question from Morten. How do you evaluate the risk of losing audience with gated content? So, you know, you have your call to action and you want to grab people's contact details or whatever in return for giving them the content. And I guess what Morten is asking here is, how do you kind of balance the risk of pushing people away, asking them for details?
Yeah, that's always a balance because the value that the content is giving them needs to be in parallel with giving away information, of course. So, but if your only option on your website is gated content, then you might have a problem. So you need to add additional content that isn't just gated to provide them knowledge and show that you are on top of mind when it comes to giving away information and so on. But then you can have some additional content that actually requires, such as signing up for a webinar actually requires that they are leaving their email address, for example, or if you have a short article about something specific, then you might have an ebook that gives additional value or is too long to actually read on the actual website, and then it's more appropriate to give away your email to get this as a PDF or something.
Okay, cool. I hope that answered the question, Morten. Here is another question from Louise. Maybe I'm sensing a little bit of frustration in this question, but I certainly get where Louise is coming from. Content marketing is not a quick fix. How do we manage expectations internally?
Yeah, it's actually a typical question because when you look at content marketing, it's really a long-term plan. If you just need to drive traffic in order to sell your current stock that you have within a few months, then I shouldn't focus on content marketing specifically. Well, you still need content in order to for example, if you have a campaign going on, or if you have AdWords on Google, that might still need content in a different form. But if you're doing it more on inbound marketing strategy, for example, then it takes longer. And the expectations are normally that we need to find the quick wins. And the quick wins is normally by helping out with small tasks that you can kind of measure directly. It could be setting up, for example, a workflow or a similar kind of content automation, and the only thing that you've fixed is the emails that are going out from your organization, so that they are more selling and more in line with everything else you do. And if you then can quickly measure how those goes, that could be spread internally, and you get everybody along the way. So try to find the quick wins first, and then move to the more long-term stuff.
All right, so back to what you mentioned about measuring. Really make sure to measure your successes and your small wins along the way to spread the enthusiasm about this. All right. Okay, yeah. So here's another question from Sarah. She asked, timing is important for posts on social media, Instagram and Facebook. How do you have a tip for how to know when posts should be done?
Yeah, there are different websites where you can find that metrics to understand, for example, when is the most appropriate time to post something around a specific topic. Normally, those tools might cost a little bit because they would like to earn some money on it, but there are some data around that so that you can be more specific. But normally, if you don't want to spend money on this, I would suggest that you actually try just to test it out. You push out things in different kind of times during the day and or during the week and see which one that performs the best. So I think that would be my proposal on that, because it is important. You can actually see that some people that are searching or using, especially some audiences in age ranges, and so they are using their mobile phone to search on different times during the day, and that's when we would like to try to get their attention. So that's more look into the data, find the tools that fits you to find that data, or just do the testing yourself and improve by that.
Excellent. Yeah, I can chime in with some experience from the email marketing side. Our customers often ask us, when is the best time to send an email? And I'm sure if you Google that, you will get tons of different answers. And American surveys will tell you that Tuesdays at 9:30 is the best time. But the bottom line is, it depends on your audience, and it really depends on you testing with your audience what works best. When are they active in your emails? When are they most receptive to your messages? And no audiences are alike. So testing is really a good benchmark for you. Comparing yourself to yourself instead of comparing you to some odd industry average somewhere is what we often tell our clients.
Absolutely. And if you, sorry if I add, but if you're also into, for example, inbound marketing, the timing is a little bit more irrelevant, because in that case you are always providing a good value for your potential clients or customers. So when they are ready or need information about the specific topic, they will search or try to find it, and that's when you when you should show up. So instead of pushing ads and try to push ads in a certain specific time, inbound marketing is more not pushing, not cold calls and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, excellent point there. Being so when is the right time to send content? When the audience is ready and they're showing that they're ready with their behavior of looking at your website and maybe following your call to action or reading on your blog or signing up for a webinar. That's when you should hit them with your quality content over time, instead of just sending it when you're good and ready. Exactly. Okay, excellent. Keep the questions coming. If you have more questions, send them to us in the questions box. We are approaching the hour, but we will stick around for a few more minutes if there are more questions coming. So do go ahead and send them to us. In the meantime, I'll make sure to tell you that if you like these types of webinars, we have more stuff coming up. So check out eMarketeer.com/webinars. In the near future here, we have one coming up on Google Ads with Google Ads Manager Funda from our partner Online Advisors. So that'll be a great webinar if you're getting started with Google Ads or you're already spending money on Google Ads and you want to make sure that you're doing the best job you can. Check out that webinar. And other resources are the sites mentioned here on screen, the eMarketeer blogs and webinars, the BRV agency site and the Migaloo site, packed full of content, and the blogs there as well. Good content marketing and content strategy tips there for you. So make sure to check those things out, and we hope to see you on some future webinars and blog posts for sure. At this point, Stefan, there are no more questions. If you're typing, make sure to send it away so we can get back to you with answers on this. But for now, Stefan, thank you so much for sharing all of that useful information based on your many years of experience here. Truly valuable to all of us. So thank you so much. I hope we can do something similar again in the future.
Great. Thank you very much, everybody, for tuning in, and hope you stay safe and healthy during this time here. But and if you have any questions, just pass it on to Klaus or myself, and we'll answer it afterwards.
Well put. Absolutely. Okay, a lot of good feedback is coming back to you, Stefan, for the webinar. Great tips, great presentations. Lots of questions about whether they're getting the presentation. Absolutely, it'll be there, slides and recording. It will go out to all of the people here on the webinar. And just a second, what Stefan said, stay safe, stay healthy, and we hope to see you also face-to-face in the near future when things open up just slightly more. Thanks. Have a great day, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.